The old foam that these boats use, once you get water in them, they hold it and the boat becomes waterlogged. You have about 60 to 90 seconds with this stuff. Guys, major screw up again, man. I didn't see the hole. I forgot to plug up those pilot holes that I did over there. What's up, guys? We are back on the Seacraft. I haven't worked on the Seacraft in, I want to say, like 8 months or so. Realistically, time, weather has really been a main factor because I'm working on this boat outside. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name's Andres. This is Perfect Fit Boating, and we have a 1978 Seacraft that we're currently working on. If you haven't seen the video from when I first got it, I've done a couple things to it. I'm going to put that link up here for you guys to see. I got this boat for $1,000 and we're going to restore it completely, and I'm going to put a pilot house on it. If you haven't seen the last video, we took off all of the foam that's on there, and now we have to completely fill it with foam again and then cover it with glass, so that way we can work on the transom, which is the next project after that, which is what I want to get to. So let's get started on the project. We're going to get right into it. I have my FGCI polyurethane expanding liquid foam, 2-pound density, that we're going to use. Let's get inside so we can take a look at what we got going on. It's still a little bit wet in here from all the rain, but I've gone ahead and vacuumed all of the excess foam, loose foam, and dirt and debris that's inside those. And I've also used my heat gun to go ahead and heat up any of those wet spots that are in there, so just to make sure everything's nice and dry. Fill these stringers with foam, and then we're going to cover the whole thing with some fiberglass. Now this foam that's up here is dry all the way towards the end. So was that foam in there, so that is going to stay just as is because that foam is dry, and it's been dry since 1978. So everything's cleaned up and I'm ready to start pouring the foam. The foam that we're going to use is the polyurethane expanding liquid foam from FGCI. As you can see, it comes in part A and part B, and the reason for that is because you're going to need to mix it. You're going to need to mix it on a 1-to-1 ratio, so the same amount of A, same amount as B, and you have some time to mix it. Make sure you get all the sides. I'll show you how to do that now. And also I took the liberty of lowering the boat, so that way the bow is more is less than level, so all the liquid will flow forward and then whatever is extra will flow back this way. So let's get started. So this expanding foam comes in 2-pound density, 4-pound density, and 8-pound density. 2-pound density is really just for flotation. 4-pound density is a little bit more structural, and 8-pound density is the one that you want to use around your fuel tanks and things like that. I'm going to put the video up here at FGCI where it shows the different types of foam. I go through all the foam and you can see how dense the actual foam is. The 8-pound density is pretty tough. This particular foam, the 2-pound density, is plenty for this boat. We don't need structural because these stringers on these Seacrafts are already structural as it is. They don't even need the foam. But for extra flotation, that's what we're gonna use. All right, so let's get started. I lowered the bow of the boat so I can have all the foam going this way. And then the other thing that I've done is I have this piece of PVC board. So as the foam rises, I can block it and it'll go this way. And then I also have this piece of wood that I can block it and keep it from coming back up this way and up through this way. Just keep it going this way. So part A is a little bit darker. I like to shake things up a little bit before we get started. This thing's been sitting for a minute. And that's the part B. So let's start moving that around. Get the sides, and you'll see it'll turn into like a light brown color. And there it goes, it's starting to expand. All right, there you go. As you can see, that was just one little pint of that stuff. We still got a lot to go, and I tried my best to move the bow of the boat down. I'm gonna have to move it a little bit more, but that's okay. So check that out. Pretty cool. I also lost a lot of foam because I forgot to plug up those pilot holes that I did over there to make sure these things, to make sure that they weren't soaked. So lesson learned. When you're ready to pour the next batch, you got to wait till the product cools. So you got to give it about 15 to 20 minutes before you pour over that last spot. So we already poured here. I'm going to start pouring on this side. And we're going to work our way back this way. So once I'm done pouring here, I'll go back here and we'll go back and forth on both sides. And guys, you have about 60 to 90 seconds with this stuff. So you want to be able to mix it up, get the sides, get the walls. Guys, major screw up again, man. I didn't see the whole big screw up on my part. Look how much I lost. Alright. That's my fault for not checking. Alright, let's keep going. Now you could do bigger batches. I was recommended to do smaller batches like this, just because you have more control of how much you're using. So let's go ahead and pour some of this in here. This side has already cooled. There you go, you can see it expanding. Now this stuff does let off heat. You can feel it getting warm. Let's go on to the other side. You want to mix it till it gets like a nice beige color. You'll see it's like a cream color, like coffee creamer. Alright, so I poured on top of here. I think that's going to cover this area, so I'm going to get my PVC ready. I really think that's going to come through there, and get some gloves. You already see starting to expand. Let's take a peek. Yeah, it's coming up. PVC pipe was a good idea because it's coming up and it's pushing against this, so hopefully I'll get it to sit flat. Guys, the good thing about this foam, this is closed cell foam, so water can't get in it, and that's what you don't want. The old foam that these boats used, once you get water in them, they hold it and the boat becomes waterlogged, so becomes really heavy. So this did have water in it, not a ton as you saw in that video, but it had enough where I wanted to get rid of it. But so far so good. Let's take a look. All right, good. Look at that. So we still got to fill some of that up. We've got a little bit more to pour there. I just poured here, so I'm going to cover this. Seems to be working pretty good. This is coming up here. All that is filling up. Check that out. That I can scrape off, that's no big deal. Alright, let's see how this turned out. Oh, nice. I can shave that down, file it down. Now, nice and full here. This side I might have to fill over here, then fill the rest. So, kind of make like a trough so it'll fill out. I just came back and filled this up. Hopefully that's enough to get this area full, and this too. Let's see how this guy held up over here. Oh man, it came up with pulled up so much. So I had an area here that I didn't mix right, and it just never hardened up. So I'm gonna dig it out. It's just a small area here. I'm gonna refill all that with new foam. See, it didn't even get hard. Mixed it and I waited to see if it would rise, and it started to rise, and I poured it, and big mistake. Really happy with how this came out. I tried doing the method with the piece of PVC, but it just kept getting stuck. I should have used some tape and wax or something on the bottom of it, but that's all right. I'm gonna come back and slice everything off and make it nice and even, and we're gonna lay some glass on there. All right, so we filled all the stringers with foam, and now all the excess we're gonna have to cut off, and then any divots or any small little holes or anything like that, we'll fill them up later. We ended up using 3.5 gallons. Right now I got myself this guy over here, and we're gonna start cutting off all the excess foam so we can glass over these stringers. All right, the foam's been cut down, so now what I'm gonna do is come in with the mat. For right now, just some mat, so this is completely covered and I don't have to worry about it. So I'm ready to put down the floor, and I'm gonna put a few layers of 1708, but for now just mat, just to seal this off and be done with it. There's all the excess foam. We got it to go all the way back here. Look at that, sweet, nice and perfect. Like I said, we used about 3.5, almost 4 gallons for these entire stringers, which is awesome. I'm running out of light. Well, let's seal this up. All right, we laid up all the glass. Again, this is just going to be a layer of mat for now, just to get coverage. Now we're going to go ahead and lay down some resin. Push that on. Pull this back over. Alright guys, it's the next day, and so basically what I did was I covered this in mat. Alright, now I have to come back and grind around all these areas, because that's where the 1708 is going to lay. 1708 is going to be 2 layers up to here, and then another one up to here, so I have to go around and grind around all this area like this. Same here, and then I got to finish up these mat pieces as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and grind everything down, and let's get to that. So this is the dirty part, got on my PPE, so let's get to it. Yeah, so we ground down all the sides, because that's where the 1708 is going to stick to. We're going to put 2 layers, a short one and then a longer one that overlap this stringer, and that's going to tie down the stringer. And now I'm just going over with some acetone just to clean it up and to get it ready for that layup. You don't necessarily need to do the mat like I did here. I did that so I could just make sure that it gets covered, and in case it rains, all that old foam that I have back there that I kept doesn't get soaked. You see how it's freshly ground out. You want fresh glass when you're laying up glass. The thing is, over here in the bilge area, because this is the bilge, they use primer and paint, so you got to make sure you grind all that shit off, because all that polyester won't stick to that. Not a problem. Go lay up. I got this plastic cover from Harbor Freight, and basically what this is, it's just some plastic, and I'm going around drawing, and this is what I'm going to do my template with. So I want to get 2 layers of 1708. I want to get the first layer just over that seam, and then the next one's going to go a little further down. You want to always go from small to big. So now I got that template. Now I know I can cut out 2 from there. So that's our template for the port side. We don't need matte because it's already matte on that part. So we're going to do 2 layers of 1708. I'm just going to trace right around the edge of this template, and then the second piece I'm going to give myself about an inch and a half, almost 2 inches of extra to make the piece bigger. So we'll label this one first. Bottom, we could say bottom. And then this will be top. And this is port. Here. Now, you guys need to get one of these if you're cutting a lot of pieces of fiberglass. This is a lifesaver. Oh, so now look, this piece here, see? It's going to overlap this one. Just by a little bit. That way, the bottom piece, there's a couple layers, there's 2 layers before it rips off. If you do big and then small, that once that under layer rips off, then you have no other support. So that's that one. All right, we're getting ready to lay up our fiberglass. Cut our 2 layers. This is the port side. So we already have a layer of mat down here. I've already wiped all this down with acetone. You see the fresh glass here, so that new fiberglass can stick on here. It's going to have something to grip onto. Okay. So what I have here is I have these old yogurt and cottage cheese containers. They're great for mixing resin, so you can toss them, you recycle them. And this is about 16 ounces. You see? I think this is about 16 ounces of resin, and we're using boatyard resin. Boatyard resin is one of your cheaper resins that you can use, and it works perfectly fine for applications like this. You can get into the vinylester resin, which is a lot more expensive, or epoxy, which is like triple the price. But for this job, this is more than enough. Okay, so I'm also using MEK. This is the hardener. All right, the hardener, or the catalyst for the boatyard resin. And this boatyard resin for 16 ounces, I believe it's like 5 mLs that you use to mix up, and then this little container here tells you the mLs, right, which is awesome. So you don't have to worry about drops or anything like that. It's not too hot today. It's a little warm, but it's not crazy hot. So you're gonna have about 15 minutes of work time with this. So I've already measured this out. I'm gonna mix that up. MEK comes in a clear color, or it comes in this red dye. I like the red dye a lot. That's why this is this color, because you could actually see when the product's been mixed right. And we're gonna use a little bit more than this, but that's okay. This is the first batch. Now I want to give, this is already sticky. Since I wiped it down with acetone, it's already a little bit tacky. So we're just gonna give this a hot coat and just brush on a bunch of this boatyard resin. And that's gonna help that new glass that we're laying down to start soaking. So you can apply a liberal amount on this. So now we have our 2 pieces here, and I labeled them as bottom. So this is the first one. As you can see, that fits perfect. I'm gonna come over, I'm just gonna lay this glass. Now you could use a roller. I'm using a brush for this small area just to show you guys, but you can use a roller. I'm not worried about this because this is all going to be replaced. Those white spots, you want to get rid of them, so you can do this technique, and you'll see those bubbles. All you got to do is brush them out, and you could use a bubble buster as well. See that? That's going to push all that resin. You don't want to squeeze too hard because you don't want the resin to dry out. Too much resin and it becomes brittle. Too little and it just doesn't have the strength. Just like that. That's perfect. This area here is actually done. Let's move on to back here. See those bubbles there? You could also soak these pieces of 1708, bring them on the boat, then lay them over the area. You could do that too. I just don't have much space from where we cut the glass to where the boat's located at, and I didn't want to walk the whole yard with pieces of wet glass, so this is good for now. Yeah, there we go. So that's our first piece. Now we got our second piece, and I think we have enough time with this resin to work with, so let's put that on there, and that's going to fit nice just like that. So you'll see any of the excess resin is going to start coming through, so you want to push that on there, and this should get nice and soaked really fast. See that? So we're going to start back here. You're gonna see how easy this one soaks up. We might need a little bit more resin, but I think we're okay. And that's how you do a layup. Two overlapping pieces. You can see that first layer grip that first part of the fiberglass, and then all that we ground down to here, that's that second layer. So we got good coverage. Very little to any air bubbles. This is perfectly fine for this job. So I told you guys that I would have a cost breakdown of how much this project is costing every video, so let me get those numbers out for you. All right, so up until the last video, we had the cost of the boat and a couple other little things totaling $1,094. So for this video, the stuff that we used the resin, right? We have a 5-gallon pail. That was $269. Expanding foam, we used $600 worth of expanding foam. And I went to Harbor Freight to get a couple of little brushes and things like that, and a little a grinding disc and things, and that came out to $34. So right now we're a total of $1,997.99 for this project. So we're still under $2,000, and we're pretty much done with the stringers, and that's with the boat price included. Guys, remember, use my discount code PFB10 at FGCI.com. If you're local here in Miami, you can visit El Capitan. They have all the supplies that FGCI carries. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.